Rachel Morgan froze on the busy Chicago sidewalk. A successful businessman and three identical little girls sat against a brick wall, holding a cardboard sign, "Hungry. Please help." The girls' clothes were worn, their faces tearful. But when their eyes met Rachel's, something impossible happened. Her heart recognized them. "Ma'am," the smallest whispered, "please don't leave us." Rachel didn't know why, but every instinct screamed these children belonged to her. This is the story of how fate brought a mother back to the daughters she never knew she had. Watch the full video so that you will not miss next story. Share the video to 1,000 people. What connection did Rachel feel with these mysterious girls? And why was Marcus hiding his true identity? Subscribe and hit the notification bell to continue this emotional journey. Drop a comment telling us, would you give away your last meal to help a stranger? Coming soon. Marcus Chen sat on the cold pavement of downtown Chicago, his designer stubble hidden beneath a worn baseball cap. At 35, he was one of the city's youngest tech billionaires, CEO of Chen Digital Solutions. But today, dressed in thrift store clothes, he was just another struggling father, or so it appeared. Beside him sat his 6-year-old triplet daughters, Emma, Lily, and Sophie. Their matching faces were streaked with theatrical tears, part of Marcus's desperate plan. For 3 months, he'd been conducting this unusual experiment, searching for a woman who could love without seeing wealth first. "Daddy, I'm cold," Sophie whispered, genuine discomfort creeping into her voice. Marcus pulled her closer, guilt washing over him. Maybe this plan was foolish. Maybe he should just accept that finding genuine love as a billionaire was impossible. Then a shadow fell across them. "Excuse me," a gentle voice said. "Have you eaten today?" Marcus looked up. Rachel Morgan stood there, 29 years old, wearing a teacher's practical cardigan and carrying a lunch bag. Her dark eyes held genuine concern, not pity or judgment, just kindness. "We're managing," Marcus muttered, staying in character. Rachel shook her head and knelt down, ignoring the dirty pavement. She opened her lunch bag and pulled out sandwiches. "Please, take these. I packed extra today." That was a lie, Marcus could tell. She'd given them her own lunch. "Thank you," he said softly, genuinely moved. Rachel smiled at the girls. "You three are beautiful. What are your names?" "Emma," said the first. "Lily," said the second. "Sophie," whispered the third, already leaning toward this kind stranger. Rachel's hand trembled as she touched Sophie's cheek. Something flickered in her eyes. Recognition? Confusion. She pulled back quickly, shaking her head as if dismissing an impossible thought. "I work at Lincoln Elementary, just 2 blocks away," Rachel said, standing. "If you need anything, food, warm clothes, please come find me." Before Marcus could respond, she hurried away, but not before he saw her wipe tears from her eyes. That evening, Marcus returned to his lakefront penthouse. The girls rushed to their grandmother, Wei Chen, an elegant woman with silver hair. "Grandmother," Emma shouted, "we met the nicest lady today." "She smelled like books and sunshine," Lily added. "And she didn't look at us like we were dirty," Sophie said quietly. "She looked at us like she knew us." Wei Chen raised an eyebrow at her grandson. "Marcus, did something happen today?" Marcus nodded slowly. Rachel's face burned into his memory. "Maybe. I don't know yet." That night, he couldn't sleep. Something about Rachel felt different. Not just her kindness, but the way his daughters had responded to her. They'd never warmed to anyone so quickly. Meanwhile, across the city, Rachel lay awake in her small apartment. Her younger sister, Amy, was asleep on the couch, and her nephew Tyler was tucked into the bedroom Rachel had given up for him. Rachel pressed her hand against her chest, feeling her heart race. Those 3 little girls. Why had touching them felt like touching a memory she couldn't quite reach? She'd been having dreams lately. Hospital corridors. Bright lights. Crying babies. The doctors said her memory loss from the accident 6 years ago might never fully heal, but these weren't regular dreams. They felt like echoes of something real. Rachel grabbed her phone and opened her journal app, typing frantically. Today I met 3 girls who looked at me like they recognized me. When I touched the youngest one's face, something inside me broke open, or maybe something locked away tried to escape. Who am I forgetting? What am I missing? She fell asleep with tears on her pillow, unaware that across Chicago, a billionaire father and 3 little girls were thinking about her too. Rachel couldn't shake the image of those 3 girls. The next morning, she packed 3 lunch bags instead of 1, sandwiches, fruit, juice boxes, and took a different route to work, hoping to see them again. They were there. Same corner, same cardboard sign. But this time, when the girls saw her, their faces lit up like sunrise. Miss Rachel. Sophie jumped up and ran to her. Rachel's breath caught. She'd never told them her name. How did you? She began, but Sophie was already hugging her waist. Marcus stood slowly, studying Rachel with new intensity. His daughters never ran to strangers. Never. Yet here was Sophie, clinging to this teacher like she was a life raft. I brought breakfast, Rachel said, kneeling to distribute the meals. Her hands trembled as each girl took food from her, and when their small fingers brushed hers, that same electric recognition shot through her. Emma touched Rachel's hair gently. You have pretty curls. Like clouds. My mom probably had pretty hair too, Lily said quietly, then her face fell. But we don't have a mom. Rachel's heart cracked. What happened to her? Marcus's voice was rough. She left when they were babies. Didn't want to be a mother. The words felt wrong in Rachel's ears, not because she doubted him, but because something deep inside her screamed that these girls had a mother. Somewhere. Somehow. Well, Rachel said, swallowing her confusion. You 3 have each other. That's special. The girls ate hungrily while Rachel sat with them, ignoring the curious stares of passing commuters. She should have been at school already, but she couldn't leave. Not yet. Marcus watched this stranger, this beautiful, exhausted teacher, share space with his daughters like she'd been doing it for years. The way she instinctively wiped Lily's mouth. How she adjusted Emma's jacket without being asked. The way Sophie had already claimed Rachel's lap like it was her throne. Miss Rachel, Emma asked suddenly, do you have kids? Rachel's smile faltered. No, sweetheart. I don't. Why not? Lily pressed. You'd be a good mommy. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. Sometimes life doesn't work out the way we plan. Marcus saw the pain flash across her face and recognized it. She was carrying loss. Just like him. I need to get to school, Rachel said reluctantly, standing. But I'll come back tomorrow. I promise. Promise? Sophie asked, holding out her pinky finger. Rachel linked pinkies with her, then with Emma and Lily. Promise. As she walked away, Marcus felt his chest tighten. This woman had shown up twice now, had given what little she had, and had made his daughters smile genuinely for the first time in months. That afternoon, Marcus made a decision. He called his private investigator. I need you to find information on someone. Rachel Morgan. Teacher at Lincoln Elementary. But be discreet. I don't want her to know. What are we looking for, boss? The investigator asked. Marcus paused. What was he looking for? Proof she was trustworthy? Evidence she was genuine? Or something else? Something that would explain why his daughters were drawn to her like magnets? Everything, he finally said. I need to know everything. Meanwhile, Rachel sat in her empty classroom during lunch, staring at her computer screen. On impulse, she typed, "Missing Triplet Girls Chicago 6 years ago," into the search engine. Dozens of articles appeared. Stories of switched babies, hospital errors, missing children. Her hand hovered over one headline, Chen Tech CEO raises daughters alone after wife abandons family. But something stopped her from clicking. If she was wrong, if this strange feeling meant nothing, she'd be invading the privacy of a struggling father who deserved compassion, not suspicion. Instead, she opened her desk drawer and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside was the only thing she owned from her time in the hospital 6 years ago, a plastic hospital bracelet, worn and faded, with a patient number but no name. Jane Doe number 47. That's who she'd been when they found her, unconscious and in labor, on a rainy night. That's who she'd remained for 3 months until her memory partially returned and she could remember her name. But she'd never remembered being pregnant. Never remembered giving birth. The doctors said trauma could do that, could erase the most painful moments to protect the mind. Rachel pressed the bracelet against her heart. 3 girls. 3 perfect, beautiful girls who looked at her with eyes that somehow felt familiar. No, she whispered to herself. It's impossible. Marcus's private investigator called back within 24 hours. Boss, you're going to want to sit down for this. Marcus was in his home office, watching through the window as his daughters played in the garden with Wei Chen. Just tell me. Rachel Morgan, age 29. Elementary school teacher for 4 years. Before that, her history gets fuzzy. She was hospitalized 6 years ago, listed as Jane Doe for 3 months. Severe memory loss. No family came forward. When she recovered enough to remember her name, she started rebuilding her life from scratch. Marcus's blood went cold. 6 years ago. What month? October. Same month your daughters were born. The phone nearly slipped from Marcus's hand. What hospital? Chicago Memorial. Same one where? Where my daughters were born, Marcus finished, his voice barely a whisper. His mind raced back to that chaotic night. The storm. The power outages. The confusion in the maternity ward. His ex-wife Vanessa had been in labor, or so he'd thought. Everything had been so rushed, so disorganized. But then Vanessa had looked at the babies with disgust instead of love. She'd left 3 months later, claiming motherhood made her feel trapped. At the time, Marcus had been too heartbroken and overwhelmed to question anything. Send me everything you have, Marcus said. Every document, every record. Already emailing it now. Boss, there's one more thing. What? Rachel Morgan had a Jane Doe file with a notation that she gave birth during her hospitalization. Triplet girls. But there's no record of what happened to those babies. Marcus's world tilted. He grabbed the edge of his desk to steady himself. Find out if there were any complications that night. Any mix-ups. Hospital errors. Anything. On it. When the call ended, Marcus sat in stunned silence. Could it be possible? Could Rachel be? No. It was too coincidental. Too impossible. But then he remembered his daughter's reactions. The way they'd gravitated to her instantly. The way Rachel had trembled when she touched them. The recognition in her eyes that she couldn't explain. He needed more proof. He needed to be absolutely certain before he turned everyone's world upside down. That evening, Wei Chen found him still sitting in his office, staring at nothing. Marcus, what troubles you? He looked at his grandmother, the woman who'd helped him raise 3 little girls when their mother abandoned them. Grandmother, do you remember anything strange about the night the girls were born? Wei Chen's expression flickered, so quickly Marcus almost missed it. Why do you ask? Please. It's important. She sat down slowly, her silver hair gleaming in the lamplight. There was chaos that night. The storm, the power failure. When they brought the babies to you, Vanessa barely looked at them. I thought it was exhaustion, or perhaps fear. But looking back. She paused. She never bonded with them. Not once. Did you ever wonder why? Wei Chen met his eyes steadily. Every single day. But I thought perhaps I was looking for reasons to explain why a mother could abandon her children so easily. Marcus leaned forward. What if there was a reason? What if Vanessa wasn't their biological mother at all? His grandmother's eyes widened. Marcus, what are you saying? I'm saying I think there was a mistake at the hospital. A terrible, life-changing mistake. Before Wei Chen could respond, Emma burst into the room, clutching a drawing. "Daddy, look what I made." Marcus pulled her into his lap, his heart aching. The drawing showed 4 stick figures, 3 small, 1 tall, holding hands under a rainbow. Above them, Emma had written in careful letters, "Our new family." "Who's this?" Marcus asked, pointing to the tall figure. "Miss Rachel," Emma said simply. "She feels like family, Daddy. Like she's supposed to be with us." Marcus pressed his face into his daughter's hair to hide his tears. Across the city, Rachel was having dinner with her sister Amy when Tyler, her 7-year-old nephew, suddenly asked, "Aunt Rachel, why don't you have kids?" Rachel's fork clattered onto her plate. "Tyler, that's not. It's just, you'd be such a good mom. Better than my mom." He looked at Amy apologetically. "No offense, Mom." Amy laughed, but Rachel saw the question in her sister's eyes too. "Sometimes things happen that we don't understand," Rachel said softly. "Sometimes we lose things before we even knew we had them." That night, Rachel dreamed of the hospital again. But this time, the dream was clearer. She saw 3 tiny faces. Perfect, identical, beautiful. She felt them being taken from her arms while she screamed soundlessly. She woke up gasping, tears streaming down her face, her empty arms aching for children she couldn't remember but somehow knew were hers. Marcus hired the best medical attorney in Chicago. Attorney Linda Shaw sat across from him in his penthouse, reviewing documents with a frown deepening by the minute. "Mr. Chen, if what you're suggesting is true, this is one of the biggest hospital negligence cases I've ever seen." "I don't care about a lawsuit," Marcus said firmly. "I need to know the truth. Those girls deserve to know the truth." Linda nodded. "I'll petition the hospital for full records from that night. But I need Rachel Morgan's consent to access her medical files." That was the problem. How could Marcus approach Rachel without sounding insane? "Hi, I think you might be my daughter's biological mother because you both were in the same hospital 6 years ago and my daughters are inexplicably drawn to you?" He needed another way. The next morning, Rachel arrived at the street corner with more food, this time enough for several meals. But Marcus, Emma, Lily, and Sophie weren't there. Rachel's heart sank with unexpected disappointment. Had something happened? Were they okay? She was about to leave when a black car pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing Marcus. But this Marcus looked different. Clean-shaven, wearing an expensive suit, looking every inch the successful businessman he truly was. "Miss Rachel," he said. "Can we talk?" Rachel's instincts screamed danger, but before she could back away, 3 little faces appeared in the back window. "Miss Rachel," they chorused. Relief flooded through her. "You're okay. I was worried when I didn't see you this morning." Marcus stepped out of the car. "I'm sorry. I haven't been entirely honest with you." Rachel's defenses went up. "What do you mean?" "I'm not homeless. This is my car. That," he gestured to a massive building behind them, "is my company. I was testing people. Looking for someone who could see past money and status." Rachel's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "You were pretending to be poor? With your children? I know how it sounds. It sounds like you were using your daughters as props in some twisted social experiment." Rachel's voice shook. "Those girls were cold, hungry, scared. They were never in danger," Marcus insisted. "We had security nearby. They were never truly hungry. I was trying to find." "Find what?" "Someone gullible enough to feel sorry for you." Rachel backed away. "I gave you food I couldn't afford. I worried about those girls. And this whole time it was just a game." "Rachel, please. Don't." She turned to walk away, tears burning her eyes. "Rachel, wait." Marcus caught her arm gently. "I need to tell you something. Something important about that night 6 years ago." Rachel froze. "What night?" The night you were brought to Chicago Memorial Hospital. The night you gave birth. The world seemed to stop spinning. Rachel turned slowly. How do you know about that? Because my daughters were born the same night. In the same hospital. During the same chaos. Rachel's legs felt weak. What are you saying? Marcus took a deep breath. I'm saying I think there was a mistake. A terrible, unforgivable mistake. And I think. His voice cracked. I think you're their biological mother. Rachel staggered backward. The girls had gotten out of the car and were watching with wide, confused eyes. That's impossible, Rachel whispered. I would remember my own children. You had severe trauma. Memory loss. The doctors told you that you might never remember everything. But I. Rachel looked at Emma, Lily, and Sophie. Really looked at them. Their eyes. Why had those eyes always felt familiar? Their smiles. Why did they warm something deep in her chest? The way they fit in her arms. Why did it feel like they'd been there before? Sophie took a hesitant step forward. Miss Rachel, are you our real mommy? The question shattered something in Rachel. She dropped to her knees, and Sophie ran to her, followed by Emma and Lily. They crashed into her arms, and Rachel held them, sobbing. I don't know, she whispered into their hair. I don't know, but something inside me knows you. Something inside me has been missing you. Marcus knelt beside them, his own eyes wet. I've arranged for DNA testing. If you're willing. We need to know for sure. Rachel looked up at him through her tears. If they're mine. If I lost them and couldn't remember. The pain in her voice was unbearable. How do I forgive myself for not finding them? You didn't lose them, Marcus said firmly. They were taken from you. And now we're going to prove it. Wei Chen stepped out of the car, tissues in hand, tears streaming down her own face. Come home with us, she said to Rachel. Whatever the truth is, we'll face it together. Rachel looked at the three girls still clinging to her, their faces buried in her neck. For the first time in 6 years, her arms didn't feel empty. Okay, she whispered. I'll come. The DNA testing was done in Marcus's private doctor's office. A comfortable space that felt more like a living room than a medical facility. The girls sat on a plush couch, swinging their legs nervously. This won't hurt, Dr. Patricia Kim assured them, holding up cotton swabs. Just need to rub this on the inside of your cheek. Like when we eat cotton candy? Lily asked. Exactly like that, Dr. Kim smiled. Each girl opened her mouth obediently. Emma went first, then Lily, then Sophie. Rachel went last, her hand trembling so badly that Marcus had to steady it. Results will take 3 days, Dr. Kim said, sealing the samples. But I'll rush it. 2 days. 2 days. 48 hours to wait for confirmation of something Rachel already knew in her bones. Marcus insisted she stay at the penthouse during the wait. You shouldn't be alone right now. Rachel wanted to argue, but Amy had practically pushed her out the door. Go. Find out the truth. I've got Tyler. I've got everything here. So Rachel found herself in a guest room that was larger than her entire apartment, staring at a ceiling she couldn't afford in a million years, wondering how her life had turned upside down so completely. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she called. All 3 girls peeked around the door, wearing matching pajamas covered in stars. We can't sleep, Emma admitted. We wanted to say goodnight, Lily added. Can we have a hug? Sophie asked quietly. Rachel's heart melted. She opened her arms and the girls rushed in, piling onto the bed. They smelled like bubble bath and strawberry shampoo. Are you scared, Miss Rachel? Emma whispered. A little, Rachel admitted. Are you? No, Lily said confidently. Because we already know. Know what? That you're our mommy, Sophie said simply. We felt it the first time we saw you. Rachel pulled them closer, tears sliding down her cheeks. I feel it too. I've felt it from the beginning. Then why do we need the test? Emma asked. Because sometimes grown-ups need proof of things their hearts already know. Marcus appeared in the doorway, freezing at the scene before him. His daughters, who'd had nightmares for years, looked completely peaceful in Rachel's arms. Sorry, he said quietly. I didn't realize they'd snuck in here. It's okay, Rachel said. They're welcome any time. Can Miss Rachel read us a story? Lily asked. Please, Daddy. Sophie added. Marcus met Rachel's eyes. She nodded. 20 minutes later, all three girls were asleep, curled around Rachel like puppies. Marcus sat in a chair by the window, watching. You're a natural, he whispered. It feels natural, Rachel admitted. Like muscle memory. Like I've done this before even though I can't remember it. Rachel, I need to ask you something. Okay. If the test confirms what we think, what do you want? Rachel looked down at the sleeping girls. I want to know them. I want to be part of their lives. I want. Her voice broke. I want back the 6 years that were stolen from us. And Vanessa? Rachel's jaw tightened. The woman who walked away from these beautiful girls? She can stay gone. Marcus felt a weight lift from his chest. Good. Because I plan to fight for full custody. For you. If you want it. I want it more than I've ever wanted anything. Their eyes met across the dim room, an understanding passing between them. They were in this together now. Two people bound by three extraordinary little girls. The 2 days passed like 2 years. Rachel couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. The girls stayed close to her every moment, like they feared she'd disappear. Finally, Dr. Kim called. Mr. Chen, Ms. Morgan, the results are ready. Can you come to my office? They drove in silence, Wei Chen staying home with the girls. When they arrived, Dr. Kim's expression was unreadable. Please sit, she said. Rachel's hands shook so badly she had to clasp them together. Marcus reached over and covered them with his own. Dr. Kim opened a folder. The DNA test confirms with 99.9% certainty that Rachel Morgan is the biological mother of Emma, Lily, and Sophie Chen. The room spun. Rachel heard the words but couldn't process them. Say it again, she whispered. You're their mother, Rachel. They're your daughters. Rachel buried her face in her hands and sobbed. Deep, wrenching cries of relief, grief, and joy all tangled together. 6 years. 6 years of her babies growing up without her. 6 years of first steps, first words, first everything that she'd missed. Marcus wrapped his arms around her, his own tears falling. We found each other, he whispered. That's what matters now. We found each other. When they returned home, the girls took one look at Rachel's face and knew. Mommy. Emma whispered. Yes, baby, Rachel choked out. I'm your mommy. I'm really your mommy. The girls screamed with joy and launched themselves at her. They all fell to the floor in a pile of tears and laughter and love. Wei Chen watched from the doorway, smiling through her own tears. Welcome home, Rachel. Welcome home. For 3 beautiful days, Rachel lived in a bubble of joy. The girls called her mommy constantly, making up for 6 years of silence. They insisted she tuck them in, read them stories, sit with them at breakfast. They couldn't bear to be apart from her. Marcus watched it all with a mixture of happiness and guilt. He'd kept these girls from their real mother, unknowingly, but still. The weight of that mistake crushed him sometimes. But Rachel harbored no resentment toward him. You saved them, she told him one evening as they watched the girls play in the garden. When I couldn't. You gave them love and stability. You're their hero, Marcus. And you're their mother, he said softly. That's everything. But their peace was about to shatter. On the 4th day, a sleek red sports car pulled up to the penthouse building. Out stepped Vanessa Chen, Marcus's ex-wife, wearing designer sunglasses and a cold smile. The security guard called up. Mr. Chen, Vanessa Chan is here. She's demanding to see you and the girls. Marcus's blood ran cold. Tell her no. She's threatening to call the police. Claims she has parental rights. Marcus swore under his breath. Let her up. But call my lawyer. Now. 5 minutes later, Vanessa strutted into the penthouse like she owned it. Her eyes swept over the space, the toys scattered on the floor, the family photos that now included Rachel, the lived-in warmth that hadn't existed when she'd lived there. Well, Vanessa said, removing her sunglasses. Looks like you've played house quite nicely. What do you want, Vanessa? Marcus demanded. I want to see my daughters. They're not your daughters, Rachel said, stepping into the room. And they never were. Vanessa's eyes narrowed as she assessed Rachel. And who are you? The latest nanny. I'm their biological mother. Vanessa laughed. A harsh, ugly sound. Excuse me. Marcus handed her a folder. DNA results. Rachel is their real mother. You never were. Vanessa's face paled as she skimmed the documents. For a moment, genuine shock flickered across her features. Then it hardened into something darker. So what? I raised them for 3 months. I was there. You complained for 3 months, Marcus cut her off. You hired nannies. You went to parties. You barely looked at them. And then you left. I was young. Overwhelmed. Vanessa's voice took on a wheedling tone. But I've changed. I want to be in their lives now. No, Rachel said firmly. Vanessa turned on her. You can't stop me. I have legal rights. I'm listed on their birth certificates. We're petitioning to have that corrected, Marcus said. Those birth certificates were based on a hospital error. Good luck proving that in court. Vanessa smirked. Do you know how long these things take? How expensive? How messy? The media will have a field day. Tech billionaire's wife switched at birth. Your company's stock will tank. Marcus stepped forward, towering over her. I don't care about stock prices. I care about my daughters. Our daughters, Rachel corrected quietly. Mine and theirs. You're not part of this equation. Vanessa's mask slipped, revealing raw fury. You think you can just waltz in and take my place? I may not have given birth to them, but I was their mother first. You were never their mother, Wei-Chen said, entering the room. You were a woman who temporarily resided in this home. A mother is someone who stays. Someone who sacrifices. Someone who loves. Oh, save me the speech, Vanessa snapped. Then her expression turned calculating. Fine. Since we're being honest, let's talk numbers. How much to make me go away quietly? The room went silent. You want money? Rachel whispered, horrified. To abandon your claim on children you supposedly love? Vanessa shrugged. Everything has a price. Even maternal instinct. She looked at Marcus. 5 million. In exchange, I sign away all rights. No press. No drama. Clean break. Marcus wanted to throw her out bodily. But his lawyer, Linda Shaw, who'd arrived moments before, touched his arm. Mr. Chin, I know this is distasteful, but it might be the fastest way to protect the girls. Marcus looked at Rachel. She was trembling with rage. Do it, Rachel said. Pay her. Get her out of their lives forever. Vanessa smiled triumphantly. Smart woman. I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers. Already done, Linda said coolly, pulling out documents. Sign here. Once the money clears, you forfeit all parental rights. You agree never to contact the family again. And you sign an NDA. If you ever try to sell your story, you return every penny plus damages. Vanessa barely read the contract before scrawling her signature. Pleasure doing business. As she turned to leave, Emma appeared in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. I heard everything. Vanessa froze. You were never our mommy, Emma said, her small voice shaking. And now you're selling us for money. I'm glad you're leaving. Vanessa's face twitched, perhaps with shame, perhaps with nothing at all. Without a word, she walked out. The door closed. Emma ran to Rachel and buried her face in her mother's stomach, sobbing. I don't want her. I only want you. Rachel held her daughter, tears falling into Emma's hair. You have me, baby. Forever and always. You have me. The week after Vanessa signed away her rights was strange. The girls were quieter than usual, processing what they'd heard and what it meant. Rachel moved into the penthouse permanently, taking the guest room next to the girls' bedroom. Late one night, Rachel heard crying. She found Lily sitting on her bed, hugging a stuffed rabbit. Sweetheart, what's wrong? Did our first mommy, the one who had us, did she not want us either? Rachel's heart shattered. She sat on the bed and pulled Lily into her lap. Oh baby, no. That's not what happened. Then why weren't you there? Rachel took a shaky breath. I was in an accident. It hurt my head and made me forget things. The hospital made a terrible mistake and gave you to another family. But I never stopped being your mother, Lily. My heart never stopped knowing you were out there somewhere. Really. Really. And the moment I saw you on that street corner, something inside me woke up. I didn't understand it then, but I felt it. You were mine. Lily hugged her tighter. I'm glad we found you. Me too, baby. Me too. Similar conversations happened with Emma and Sophie over the following days. Each girl had fears, that Rachel might leave, that they weren't good enough, that something else would go wrong. Marcus organized family therapy sessions with Dr. Kim, who specialized in adoption and reunification cases. Trauma doesn't disappear because love appears, Dr. Kim explained. These girls lost their first 3 months with you. They lived with someone who didn't truly love them. That leaves marks. Be patient. But patience came easily when progress was visible. Emma started calling Rachel Mommy, without hesitating. Sophie insisted Rachel braid her hair every morning. Lily asked Rachel to come to school for parent-teacher conferences. Rachel quit her teaching job, or rather, she took a leave of absence. I need time with my daughters, she explained to her principal. I've missed 6 years. I can't miss another day. The principal, a kind woman named Mrs. Harrison, hugged her. Family first, Rachel. Always family first. Marcus insisted on helping her financially. You're the mother of my daughters. Let me support you while you focus on them. Rachel initially refused, her pride bristling. But Wei Chen sat her down one afternoon over tea. Child, pride is useful when it protects you. But when it prevents you from doing what's best for your children, it becomes a burden. I don't want to feel like I'm using Marcus, Rachel admitted. Wei Chen smiled gently. Marcus considers those girls his daughters, even knowing the truth. He loves them. And I see how he looks at you, like you're the missing piece he's been searching for. Let him help. It helps him too. So Rachel accepted. She focused entirely on the girls, taking them to the park, helping with homework, teaching them to bake cookies that always turned out slightly burned but were eaten with enthusiasm anyway. One evening, Marcus came home from work to find his penthouse transformed. Music played softly. The girls had made paper decorations. Rachel wore a dress instead of her usual comfortable clothes, and the dining table was set beautifully. What's all this? He asked, loosening his tie. Daddy, we're having a family celebration, Sophie announced. It's been 1 month since Mommy came home, Emma explained. So we made dinner, Lily added. Well, Mommy made dinner. We helped. Marcus looked at Rachel, who shrugged with a shy smile. They insisted. Dinner was chaotic and wonderful. The girls talked over each other, telling Marcus about their day. Rachel laughed more freely than she had in years. Wei Chen watched them all with satisfied eyes. After the girls went to bed, Rachel and Marcus sat on the balcony, looking out at Chicago's glittering skyline. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. "For tonight. For every night." "I should be thanking you," Rachel replied. "You've given me everything, a home, time with my daughters, a chance to be their mother." "Rachel, you are their mother. You don't need to earn that." She turned to face him. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "What happens next? With us, I mean. We're raising 3 daughters together, but we're not anything to each other. Not officially." Marcus's heart raced. "What do you want us to be?" Rachel bit her lip. "I don't know. 6 weeks ago, I was alone. Now I have daughters and I'm living with a man I barely know, except I feel like I've known you forever. It's confusing." "It is confusing," Marcus agreed. He moved closer. "But some things aren't confusing at all." "Like what?" "Like how I feel when you smile. Like how right it feels when we're all together. Like how I can't imagine my life without you in it anymore." Rachel's breath caught. "Marcus. I'm not asking for anything, Rachel. I just want you to know, whatever this is between us, I'm not afraid of it. And I'm willing to wait until you're ready to figure it out too." Before Rachel could respond, a small voice called out, "Mommy? Daddy?" They turned to find Sophie standing in the doorway, clutching her blanket. "Bad dream, princess?" Marcus asked. Sophie nodded and walked over, climbing into Rachel's lap like she'd been doing it her whole life. "I dreamed you left again." Rachel held her close. "I'm never leaving, Sophie. Never ever. Promise." "I promise with my whole heart." Sophie relaxed, then looked between Rachel and Marcus. "Daddy, do you love Mommy?" Marcus froze. Rachel's eyes went wide. "Sophie, that's not," Rachel began. "Yes," Marcus said simply. "I do." Rachel's mouth opened in shock. Sophie smiled sleepily. "Good. 'Cause Mommy loves you too. I can tell." With that stunning announcement, Sophie closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep in Rachel's arms. Rachel and Marcus stared at each other over their daughter's head. "Sophie's very perceptive," Marcus finally said. "Apparently," Rachel whispered. "Is she right?" Rachel looked down at Sophie's peaceful face, then back at Marcus. "I don't know what I feel yet. It's too soon. Too complicated. But..." She paused. "But I know I feel safe with you. I know my daughters need you. I know that when I imagine our future, you're always in it." Marcus smiled, a real full smile that transformed his usually serious face. "That's enough for now." He stood and carefully lifted Sophie from Rachel's arms. "Come on. Let's put this little matchmaker back to bed." Together, they tucked Sophie in beside her sleeping sisters. As they left the room, Marcus took Rachel's hand. She didn't pull away. In the doorway, Wei Chen watched them and whispered a prayer of gratitude. Her fractured family was becoming whole again. 2 months into their new life, Rachel started having vivid nightmares. She'd wake up gasping, covered in sweat, fragments of memories flashing through her mind like lightning strikes. Hospital corridors. Screaming. Pain. 3 tiny cries. Someone taking babies away. Her arms empty. Her voice lost. One night, the nightmares were so intense that she woke up sobbing. Before she could muffle the sound, Marcus was at her door. "Rachel? Are you okay?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Marcus didn't ask permission. He simply walked in, sat on the bed, and pulled her into his arms. Rachel collapsed against him, shaking. "I remember more every night," she whispered when she could finally speak. "The night they were born. The accident. The pain. And I remember." Her voice broke. "I remember begging someone not to take them. I remember knowing something was wrong." Marcus held her tighter. "Rachel, That wasn't your fault. I should have fought harder. I should have. You were unconscious. Traumatized. There was nothing you could have done. Rachel pulled back to look at him. How do I forgive myself, Marcus? How do I forgive myself for losing 6 years with them? The same way I forgive myself for not questioning Vanessa's reaction to them. The same way we all forgive ourselves for things beyond our control. He cupped her face gently. We focus on now. On every day we do have. Rachel leaned into his touch, drawing strength from his steadiness. Stay with me tonight? Just stay. I don't want to be alone. Marcus kicked off his shoes and lay down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. Rachel moved closer, resting her head on his chest. His heartbeat steadied her breathing. Thank you, she whispered. Always, he replied. The next morning, Wei Chen found them asleep together, fully clothed, but wrapped around each other like two people who'd found home. She smiled and quietly closed the door. At breakfast, the girls noticed Rachel's red eyes. Mommy, were you sad? Emma asked. Rachel didn't want to lie. I had some sad dreams about the past. But I'm okay now. Because Daddy makes you feel better? Lily asked innocently. Rachel blushed. Yes, actually. He does. Sophie grinned. See? I told you they love each other. Marcus choked on his coffee. Wei Chen laughed into her tea. But the day took a darker turn when Attorney Shaw called. Marcus, we have a problem. The hospital is fighting our lawsuit. What? Why? They're claiming that since Vanessa signed the birth certificates and took the babies home, there's no proof an error occurred. They're saying you and Vanessa could have simply had an affair with Rachel, and... That's ridiculous. Marcus roared. The DNA proves. The DNA proves Rachel is the biological mother. It doesn't prove hospital negligence. They're arguing that you and Vanessa might have used Rachel as a surrogate and that the current situation is a custody dispute, not a medical error. Rachel, who'd been listening on speaker, went pale. They're calling me a surrogate? Saying I gave my babies away. It's a legal strategy, Linda explained. A disgusting one, but it might work if we can't prove the hospital's error definitively. Marcus slammed his hand on the desk. Then we prove it. Whatever it takes. We'll need hospital employees from that night to testify. We'll need internal documents. It's going to be a fight. After the call ended, Rachel sat in stunned silence. They're going to drag me through the mud, she said quietly. They're going to make me look like I abandoned my babies willingly. No, Marcus said firmly. We won't let that happen. But Rachel knew how these things worked. She'd have to testify. She'd have to relive that night in front of strangers. She'd have to prove she was a victim, not a villain. Wei Chen found her later, staring out the window. Child, talk to me. What if people believe them? Rachel whispered. What if Emma, Lily, and Sophie grow up hearing that I gave them away? Then we tell them the truth, over and over, until they never doubt it. Wei Chen sat beside her. Rachel, you survived a trauma that would have destroyed most people. You rebuilt your life from nothing. You found your daughters against impossible odds. That's not weakness. That's warrior strength. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. I don't feel strong. The strongest people never do. Wei Chen squeezed her hand. But you are. And we're all going to stand beside you and prove it. That evening, Marcus made an announcement at dinner. Girls, Mommy and I need to talk to you about something serious. 3 pairs of eyes went wide. Some people are saying things that aren't true, Rachel explained carefully. About how you came to be with your daddy instead of with me. What kind of things? Emma asked. They're saying I chose to give you away. But that's not true. I would never, ever choose to leave you. Sophie climbed into Rachel's lap. We know that, Mommy. But other people might say mean things. If anyone at school or anywhere else says something, I want you to come talk to us, okay? Are you in trouble? Lily asked, worried. No, sweetheart. We're just fighting to make sure everyone knows the truth. Emma, always the thoughtful one, said quietly. The truth is you're our mommy and you love us. Nothing else matters. Rachel hugged all three of them, overwhelmed by their simple faith in her. Marcus watched his family, because that's what they were now, a family, and made a silent vow. He would protect them with everything he had. Money, power, influence. He'd use it all. Nobody was going to hurt Rachel or make his daughters doubt their mother's love. The courtroom was packed. Media outlets had caught wind of the case, tech billionaire's baby swap scandal, and reporters lined the hallways. Rachel walked in holding Marcus's hand, her other hand gripping Wei Chen's arm for support. The girls were at home with a trusted nanny, spared from the circus. Vanessa sat on the opposite side with a smug expression, brought in by the hospital's lawyers to testify that no error had occurred. She'd been paid well for her testimony, breaking her NDA, but clearly not caring. The hospital's legal team was formidable. 3 attorneys in expensive suits, armed with files and confident smirks. Linda Shaw sat at Rachel and Marcus's table, calm and prepared. Remember, Linda whispered to Rachel. Tell the truth simply. Don't let them twist your words. The judge entered, Judge Patricia Moreno, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Let's begin, Judge Moreno said. This is a civil case regarding alleged medical negligence at Chicago Memorial Hospital 6 years ago. Ms. Shaw, your opening statement. Linda stood. Your Honor, this case is about a catastrophic error that separated a mother from her newborn triplets. Rachel Morgan entered Chicago Memorial in active labor after a traumatic accident. She was unconscious, listed as Jane Doe, and gave birth to 3 healthy girls. Due to chaos during a citywide power outage, those babies were mistakenly given to another couple, Marcus Chen and his then-wife Vanessa Chen. Rachel Morgan lost 6 years with her daughters through no fault of her own. We're here to hold the hospital accountable and to ensure this never happens to another family. The hospital's lead attorney, Mr. Graves, stood next. Your Honor, what we have here is a complicated custody dispute being disguised as medical malpractice. The DNA evidence proves only that Ms. Morgan is biologically related to these children. It does not prove hospital error. We believe this is a surrogacy arrangement gone wrong, with Ms. Morgan now attempting to claim children she willingly gave to the Chens. Rachel flinched as if slapped. Marcus squeezed her hand. Lies, he whispered. All lies. Linda called her first witness, Dr. Patricia Kim, who'd done the DNA testing. Dr. Kim, in your medical opinion, could Rachel Morgan have willingly carried and birthed these children as a surrogate? No, Dr. Kim said firmly. Ms. Morgan has documented memory loss from severe head trauma. She has medical records showing she was brought to the hospital unconscious and in labor. There is no evidence of surrogacy paperwork, contracts, or prior agreement. Could the hospital have made an error? Given the circumstances, power outage, multiple births that night, patient listed as Jane Doe, yes, an error is not only possible but probable. Mr. Graves cross-examined. But you can't prove an error occurred, can you? I can't prove what happened in the hospital that night, Dr. Kim admitted. But I can prove that Rachel Morgan's trauma is genuine. Next, Linda called a former Chicago Memorial nurse, Ellen Rodriguez, who'd worked the maternity ward that night. Ms. Rodriguez, do you remember the night in question? I'll never forget it, Ellen said, her voice shaking. It was chaos. The storm knocked out power. We had emergency generators, but half the equipment failed. We had 3 women in labor simultaneously. Do you remember a Jane Doe patient? Yes. She was young, unconscious, and alone. She gave birth to triplets, all healthy, but she never regained consciousness while I was there. When my shift ended, those babies were in the nursery, and I assumed they'd be reunited with her when she woke up. Did you see what happened after? No. But I heard later that there'd been confusion about which babies belonged to which mothers. I was told it was handled. I didn't know. Ellen's voice broke. I didn't know a mother had lost her children. Mr. Graves tried to shake her testimony. You didn't personally witness any error, did you? No, but... So you're speculating. I'm telling you what I saw and what I was told, Ellen said firmly. Finally, Linda called Rachel to the stand. Rachel's hands trembled as she was sworn in. Marcus's eyes never left her face. Ms. Morgan, tell the court about the last thing you remember before the accident. Rachel took a breath. I was driving home from work. It was raining. I remember feeling strange, cramping. I thought maybe I'd eaten something bad. Her voice dropped. I didn't know I was pregnant. I'd been told I couldn't have children after an earlier medical issue. So when the cramps got worse, I didn't realize I was in labor. What happened next? I remember headlights. A truck hydroplaning. Then nothing until I woke up in the hospital weeks later, and they told me I'd been in an accident. Did anyone tell you that you'd given birth? No. Rachel's voice broke. They told me I'd been unconscious, that I'd had surgery, but nobody ever mentioned babies. When I asked about the scar on my stomach, they said it was from the accident injuries. When did you first learn the truth? When I met Emma, Lily, and Sophie on the street and felt something impossible. A connection I couldn't explain. And then Marcus told me about the hospital records. Mr. Graves approached for cross-examination, circling like a shark. Ms. Morgan, you have significant memory gaps, correct? From the trauma, yes. So you don't actually remember giving birth? No, but... You don't remember being told about babies? Because I wasn't told. Or maybe you were told, and you don't remember agreeing to give them up. No. Rachel stood, shaking. I would never give up my children. Never. Ms. Morgan, please sit down, Judge Moreno said gently. Rachel sat, tears streaming down her face. Marcus looked ready to leap over the railing. Ms. Morgan, Mr. Graves continued coldly. Isn't it true that you struggled financially 6 years ago? Yes, but... And isn't it true that Mr. Chen is a billionaire? What does that have to do with? Perhaps you saw an opportunity. Linda shot up. Objection. Counsel is implying facts not in evidence. Sustained, Judge Moreno said sharply. Mr. Graves, stick to evidence. But the damage was done. The implication hung in the air, that Rachel was a gold digger using her biological connection to access Marcus's wealth. Rachel left the stand shaking. Marcus wrapped his arms around her in full view of the courtroom. I've got you, he whispered. I've got you. The trial recessed for the day. As they left, reporters shouted questions. Ms. Morgan, did you know you were pregnant? Mr. Chin, are you in a relationship with Ms. Morgan? Is this a custody battle or a romance? Marcus shielded Rachel from the cameras, getting her to the car as quickly as possible. In the back seat, Rachel broke down. They made me sound like a liar. Like I'm using the girls. Everyone who matters knows the truth, Marcus said fiercely. The judge saw your pain. The jury will see it too. There is no jury in civil cases, Rachel said bitterly. Then Judge Moreno will see it. She's smart, Rachel. She'll see through their tactics. But Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that she was being torn apart in public. Her trauma turned into entertainment. When they got home, 3 little girls rushed to the door. Mommy. Rachel knelt and held them, letting their love wash over her like healing water. It's going to be okay, Emma whispered, patting Rachel's hair. And somehow, in that moment, Rachel believed it. The final day of the trial arrived. Judge Moreno had spent 2 days reviewing evidence, hospital records, and testimony. The courtroom buzzed with tension. I've made my decision, Judge Moreno announced. Rachel gripped Marcus's hand so tightly her knuckles went white. After reviewing all evidence, medical records, and testimony, I find the following. First, Rachel Morgan is unquestionably the biological mother of Emma, Lily, and Sophie Chen. Second, the evidence strongly suggests a hospital error occurred during the chaos of the storm and power outage 6 years ago. While the hospital maintains they followed protocol, the fact remains that a mother was separated from her newborns without proper identification, documentation, or follow-up. Mr. Graves began to stand, but Judge Moreno held up her hand. I'm not finished. Third, Ms. Morgan has demonstrated through her actions, testimony, and the testimony of others that her memory loss was genuine trauma, not convenience. The suggestion that she willingly gave up her children is not only unsupported by evidence, it's insulting to every mother who has suffered loss. Rachel's tears started to fall. Therefore, I rule in favor of Rachel Morgan. Chicago Memorial Hospital is found liable for negligence resulting in emotional damages. I'm awarding Ms. Morgan $3 million in compensatory damages and ordering the hospital to implement new protocols to prevent this from ever happening again. The courtroom erupted. Rachel collapsed into Marcus's arms, sobbing with relief. Furthermore, Judge Moreno continued over the noise. I'm ordering that Emma, Lily, and Sophie Chen's birth certificates be corrected to list Rachel Morgan as their biological mother. Vanessa Chen's name is to be removed from all legal documents. Vanessa, sitting in the back, stood and stormed out. Nobody noticed or cared. Ms. Morgan, Judge Moreno said, her stern face softening, I want to say something off the record. As a mother myself, I cannot imagine the pain of losing 6 years with your children. I hope this ruling brings you some measure of peace and helps you heal. Your daughters are lucky to have you. Rachel could barely speak. Thank you, Your Honor. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed, but this time Marcus didn't rush Rachel away. He stood beside her as she made a brief statement. I want to thank Judge Moreno for seeing the truth. I want to thank everyone who supported us. And I want to say to every parent who's lost time with their children, whether through hospital error, custody battles, or any other reason, you're not alone. Fight for your children. Fight for truth. It's worth it. The drive home was quiet, both Rachel and Marcus emotionally exhausted. When they pulled up to the building, 3 little faces appeared in the window, pressed against the glass. The moment Rachel walked through the door, the girls tackled her. Did you win, Mommy? Sophie asked. We won, Rachel said, laughing and crying simultaneously. We all won. Wei Chen appeared with tissue and tea. I knew you would. Justice always finds its way. That evening, they had a quiet family celebration, just the 6 of them. The girls made cards that said, Best Mommy Ever, with crayon drawings of their family. After the girls went to bed, exhausted from excitement, Rachel and Marcus stood on the balcony under the stars. What happens now? Rachel asked. Marcus turned to face her. What do you want to happen? I want. Rachel paused, searching for the right words. I want to keep building this life. I want to watch our daughters grow up. I want to be the family we already feel like. Our daughters, Marcus repeated softly. I like how that sounds. Marcus, I know we started this in the strangest way. I know we barely knew each other when all of this began. But somewhere along the way. She looked up at him. I fell in love with you. Marcus's breath caught. Rachel. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. I fell in love with you the moment you gave away your lunch to a stranger, Marcus said, pulling her close. I fell in love with you watching you mother our daughters like you'd never been apart. I fell in love with your strength, your heart, your everything. He kissed her, soft and deep and full of promise. When they pulled apart, 3 giggling faces peeked around the doorway. We knew it. Emma squealed. Told you they love each other. Sophie added. Lily just grinned. Rachel laughed. You 3 are supposed to be asleep. But we wanted to make sure Daddy kissed you properly, Emma said seriously. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Oh, did I not do it properly? Do it again and we'll judge, Lily suggested. So Marcus kissed Rachel again while 3 little girls cheered. 6 months later, Rachel stood in a white dress on the rooftop garden of Marcus's building. Their building now. Emma, Lily, and Sophie stood beside her in matching flower girl dresses, holding bouquets. Ready? Wei Chen asked, adjusting Rachel's veil. More than ready, Rachel said, looking at her daughters, her beautiful, miraculous daughters. The music started. They walked together down the aisle, Rachel and her 3 girls, toward Marcus, who waited with tears already streaming down his face. The ceremony was simple. Wei Chen officiated. Amy and Tyler sat in the front row. A handful of close friends witnessed the moment. When Marcus and Rachel exchanged vows, they included promises to Emma, Lily, and Sophie. I promise to love you forever, Marcus said to the girls. I promise to protect you, guide you, and be the father you deserve. I promise to never leave, Rachel said, her voice breaking. I promise to be there for every moment, the big ones and the small ones. I promise you will never doubt how much you are loved. The girls hugged them both, and Judge Moreno, who'd been invited as a guest, wiped tears from her eyes. When Marcus kissed his bride, their daughters cheered loudest of all. At the reception, Emma gave a speech. We waited our whole lives for our mommy, she said, her 6-year-old voice clear and confident. And Daddy waited his whole life for his happy ending. Now we're all together, and we're going to stay together forever and ever and ever. Rachel pulled her daughter into a hug, overwhelmed with gratitude. That night, after the party ended and the girls were finally asleep, Rachel and Marcus stood in their bedroom now. Mrs. Chen, Marcus said, testing the name. I like the sound of that, Rachel replied, wrapping her arms around him. I still can't believe this is real. It's real, Marcus promised. You're real. Our daughters are real. This love is real. Rachel looked at the framed photo on the nightstand, the 5 of them together, taken the day the adoption was finalized. Marcus had officially adopted Emma, Lily, and Sophie, making them legally his daughters as well as Rachel's. One family. Complete at last. Thank you, Rachel whispered. For what? For sitting on that street corner. For giving me a second chance at being their mother. For loving me even when I was lost. You were never lost, Marcus said, kissing her forehead. You were just on your way home. And finally, after 6 years of separation, confusion, and pain, Rachel Morgan Chen was exactly where she belonged. Home. Epilogue. 5 years later, Emma, Lily, and Sophie burst into the house after school, chattering about their day. Mom. Dad. Emma called. We have news. Rachel appeared from the kitchen, flour on her nose from baking. Marcus came down the stairs, working from home that day. What's the news? Rachel asked. Mrs. Harrison, remember your old principal? She came to talk to our class about adoption and families that come together in different ways. She told everyone our story, Lily added excitedly. And everyone said it was like a fairy tale, Sophie finished. Is it a fairy tale, Mom? Rachel looked at Marcus, who smiled and took her hand. It's better than a fairy tale, Rachel said, kneeling to her daughter's height. Because fairy tales aren't real. But this, us, we're real. We're proof that love can find its way, even when everything seems impossible. And that families are made from love, not just biology, Marcus added, wrapping his arms around all 4 of his girls. Though biology helped in your case, Emma said practically, making everyone laugh. As the family settled into their evening routine, homework, dinner prep, stories, and laughter, Rachel caught her reflection in the window. She barely recognized the exhausted, lonely woman who'd given away her lunch on a Chicago sidewalk 7 years ago. That woman had been searching for something she couldn't name. Now, surrounded by the noise and chaos and overwhelming love of her family, Rachel finally understood what she'd been searching for all along. She'd been searching for them. her daughters, her husband, her home. And somehow, impossibly, beautifully, she'd found them all. And that's the end of Rachel and Marcus's incredible journey from strangers to soulmates, from lost to love, from broken to whole. If this story touched your heart, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Drop a comment telling us your favorite moment from this story. And remember, sometimes the family you're meant to have is out there waiting for you to find them. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep believing in the power of love. Mr. Hope, signing.